Peace out there in the atmosphere. It's the Real HD Show. Let's go. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the show that gives you the good, the bad, the ugly, and the in between of melanated culture in the diaspora with a focus on American life and times. This is the Real HD Show, the higher discussion. I'm glad you can join us. I am your host, Vic. You are locked in for an hour and a half or 2 hours of spectacular, informative, weaponizing, empowering information that's going to make you better than when you first came in here. But before we do that, we always have to pay the bills. So we got to ask you, one of the ways that we pay the bills around here is we ask you guys to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and turn on all notifications so that the next time the Real HD Show is on, you will be notified and you can rock out with us without a doubt, because that's what it's about. Let's get to the sponsors. Bring 5 people to the Real HD Show, courtesy of yourself. Share the show, have people show up, comment, participate, and you too can win a 4-day, 3-night vacation courtesy of Redeem Vacations and the Real HD Show. I just gave away one of the certificates to the Redeem Vacation certificates to a friend of mine, and he fully intends to take advantage of it, him and his lady. Total Package Energy, Olympic tested, people approved, all natural melanated company that does all kinds of health related things to keep you up, keep you going, keep you charged up, keep you motivated. Go on their website, totalpackageenergy.com, mob them. If you don't like the drinks, they have powders. If you don't like the powders, they got the gels, they got vitamins, they got the zips. Hit them up. Better than Gatorade, better than all these crazy fad diets, Ozempic, and all this other stuff. Hit up Total Package Energy, make it a part of your day. And the Real HD Show is having a sync license fundraiser. So if you like who we are and you like what we do and you like our get down, please donate to the Real HD Show. $ the Real HD Show. That is our cash app. Knock that out for us. We like the kind that jingles, but we rather have the kind that folds. 20s, 50s, 100s only need apply. We've been doing this show for years. I used to do it out at a radio station in Rochester. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm a solo act, but that is always the roots, not to root. Dread, bingy, dread. So help us out. Donate to the Real HD Show, $ the Real HD Show, because you're going to hear and see some things on this show that you probably are not going to hear or see any place else, or these or any other airwaves. And why are we asking you to donate to us? So that we can bring you our freedom music. Why? Because, in these internet streets and in these social media platforms, they will penalize before they actually check your credentials and see if you're legal to play music. Now, I've been legal to play music for quite some time, but that doesn't stop them from shutting down my show, muting my show, doing all kinds of crazy stuff to the show when I play significant pieces of music that have copyright attachments to them. I do have permissions, but that doesn't stop them from wilding out. Um, so we need our sync license so we could be fully informed, fully credentialized, and we can bring you wonderful things like this. Upcoming shows to the Real HD show. We have, of course, yours truly, the Real HD show. Simply Supreme show for teens, broadcast beats. That's our music show. Sipping After Dark, that will be our relationship show coming real soon. Big House Breakdown, that's our college football show. The Amazon Blacktastic Shopping Network, that's going to be off the chain. Looking for a host for that. The VMX Music Experience, we have that. That is going to pop off. That is the return of the music video and how great that was back in the day. The Pool Society, that will be a cannabis-based show. Sneaker Madness, Pets du jour. That is, how do our melanated people deal with our pets? They think we're out here dog killing. And we have wonderful relationships with our pets. And we would like to show that on Pets du jour, especially dogs, with a focus on dogs, German Shepherds, Collies, Pits, you name it, we got it. And then, of course, the last but not least, the World Class Co-op Shop. And I have said a mouthful. I hope you guys got it all. Trying to keep it short and sweet, and you know, we're here for this tonight. The gig is up. Grubhub, Lyft, Uber, Instacart. Stay aware. Financial effery at its finest. So we're going to dive into that tonight, and we hope you can join us. If you would like to join us, here is the live talk link, StreamYard.com, 2I, 6U, 5VE, 9UN. And we expect you guys to jump in here so we can have a higher conversation. But without further ado, let us jump into what we always do when we get here, which is our elders and ancestors blueprint. And we got a good one coming to you this week. It's a little long, but it's Dr. Amos Wilson with some really profound words that I'm sure you are going to need to hear in order to stay clear. So we're going to pop that on, and we will get to do what we do on the ones and the twos. All right, we're loading that up, and we are here. Thanks to Hip Hop Cartoons. Shout out to that brother. He always allows us to play videos, his videos on our channel, 107 USC 106. Videos used for educational purposes only. Check it out, Real HD Show.
We are killing each other in order to maintain this system. We have let ourselves become possessed by a spirit such that when we become aggressive, we aggress against the self instead of those who are the source of our aggressive orientation. We talk a lot as a people about self-hatred. Self-hatred is a personality configuration. It is a form of personality organization. It is an orientation toward the world and towards oneself. Self-hatred, then, is the white man's greatest protection against being destroyed by the black man. To a good extent, self-hatred is the white man's defense mechanism, is the white man's form of self-defense. How can we say that? To a great extent, one function of the personality is to direct energy, to direct aggression, to channel aggression and energy and wishes and impulses in particular directions, to organize feelings, to organize energy to achieve certain ends. Those things that we hate, often then when we are angry or hostile We aggress against them, don't we? We attack them often. We destroy them. Then we have a problem, don't we? If we attack the things we hate, if we attack the things toward which we hold hostility, when we are overly frustrated and when we are angry, then what happens if that thing we hate is ourselves?
They clone Tyrone. He talking that ish. Listen up.
It means then, ladies and gentlemen, that when we become frustrated and angered as a people, when we are overwrought by feelings of hostility, and our self-hating personality seeks to channel that hostility and channel that aggression, it's going to channel the aggression right back on to the self. Because that's the thing we hate most. So consequently, black anger then becomes a conduit for black self-destruction, for black self-defeat. The object of our hostile, aggressive feelings becomes ourselves. And you can see then how the white man is protected by that personality structure, right? While he stokes our anger, while he stokes our hostility, while he stokes our frustration, and while we get mad and we want to strike out, when we decide to strike out and aggress, we strike out and aggress against the self. And by doing so, he is left untouched and unscathed. And therefore, our self-hatred becomes his principal means of defending himself and of maintaining himself. One of the things that frightened him most about the Ferguson case was that Ferguson's self-hatred mechanism broke down. Unlike many deaf, dumb, and blind Negroes, he knew who his enemies were. And so when he got angry and hostile, instead of going out to drink himself to death, instead of going out to smoke crack and destroy himself, instead of going out to killing someone who looked like himself, instead of going out to commit suicide and put himself in a place to be destroyed by somebody else, he went directly to the source of his frustration. And this is what frightened those people. They were wondering how many more are there like that, and are they increasing? Yes.
Yes, sir. That was Dr. Amos Wilson. And he was talking about self-destruction. And the very simple, the very easy, the very desperate, the very inane ways that we can manifest self-destruction if we're not careful, if we're not seeing things clearly, and if we're not prepared. But we're on the Real HD show and we're prepared. But what was interesting about what he was saying about self-destruction is that sometimes it could become a plague and move and transform and evolve into different ethnicities, not just black folk, not just melanated folk. So I'm gonna put something on, and I hope I can catch it really fast without having to. Oh, I got it. Okay, great. So this is what happens also when a lot of, you know, self-hatred seeps into other communities and ethnicities. Check it out, Real HD Show.
So let them all you talk. Go ahead and join in with them ladies. Show them how it's done.
I think you guys get the point. The point is that the self-deprivation, the mischaracterization of sexuality, the hypersexuality, all of it rolled up into a ball is manifesting itself not only in our culture but in other cultures, because these things are being popularized. They're in the popular culture. If you go over in some Asian cultures, you will see them over there, doing the very same thing. I remember I saw a video a little while ago. It was maybe about a year ago. It was about a girl at a wedding, and she was with her father. And my father had to be like a military man. He had his bars on, he had his stripes on. He looked, suited and booted, ready to go. Not that that's any standard or rubric or anything, but I bring it up because he was trying to maintain his daughter's behavior. So the daughter was at the wedding. I guess she was part of the wedding party. She might have been a little loose, might have had a little sippy sip. And the daughter began to twerk to one of the songs right in front of the father. And I mean, she was going to town. She was going crazy. And a lot of people would be like, well, what's wrong with twerking? That father snatched that girl up so fast and put her right back in line. And I'm not saying that that's what we're supposed to do. That's just an example, along with the video that I showed about how the desperation, the popularism, and the accoutrement of it all leads not just our folks, but a lot of folks to wanting to degrade themselves, be beneath themselves, do things that they consider to be footloose, fancy free, and freeing, when in actuality it's debasing, it's dehumanizing, and it's self-hating, self-deprecating. Let us know what you think about this. That was our Ancestors and Elders Blueprint with Dr. Amos Wilson. Let us know what you think about it in the comments. Do you think Dr. Amos Wilson was right? Do you see evidence of self-hatred in many, many parts, in many, many things that are in your life? Not just maybe not from yourself or maybe those immediately around you, but what about your environment? What about your coworkers? What about the people you go to school with? What about some friends that you might have? Do they exhibit self-hating characteristics and popularize it as fun or as, part of the in thing to do? Let us know. And let us know if those things have impacted your life in times. So once again, please like, share, subscribe, comment, turn on notifications. Let's have a higher discussion. So while we're waiting for our entire crew to jump in and for us to really get these comments going and flowing, we're going to jump into our AAT report. That's our Healthy, Wealthy, and Wiser for a Brand New You, because we need cell power. Let's cue the music. That's right. So we're back, and we are in the middle of a AAT report, Healthy, Wealthier, and Wiser for a Brand New You. Rocking out on a March 11th. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's well. Hope everybody's doing great. If not, my wish is for you to do better than where you are. And check us out. Let us know if that is in fact what you're doing and what you're about. If you would like to get involved with the Real HD Show, you can. I'm going to put the link back on the bottom, and that'll be there for about half the show. And then, of course, once we start showing our videos and get into our deeper discussions, I got to remove it somewhat because of the, room to add others and bring others into the fold, and enrich those conversations. So we're into a AAT report, Healthy, Wealthier, and Wiser for Cellular Power. Let's do it. So I was trying to pull up the newer all right, I got it. There you go. Okay. So we're going to get into some interesting stuff because this AAT report, or this Healthy, Wealthier, and Wiser report, basically, I'm going to introduce something new to you, which is called Wild Health. And Wild Health is all about genetic customization healthcare. Now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but in a lot of ways, especially with athletes, there seems to be this thing about, working out and training for your blood type, and how that's like the healthier way to do it. You can be more, succinct and more, you could put a bullseye, a aim, and a focus on what you're trying to do instead of just training for your position or training for your specific group or team. You can train to make yourself the best type of athlete. But what happens when that is the best type? You want to be the best type of person. How does that apply? And given the amount of recklessness and savage inequalities that exist within the health industry as a history, are we going to let them in on the God gene? Are we going to give them access to the God gene by exploiting convenience for healthcare sake? So let's look at what this one brother got to say, who's a football player, plays with the Houston Texans, and let's see what this genetic healthcare has done for him. Check it out, Real HD Show.
My name is Brandon Cook. Optimizing my health has truly shown me age is just a number, because the older I get, the better I've been getting, the faster I've been getting, and the healthier I've been getting. The biggest change I've noticed on the field since starting with Wild Health has to do with just my recovery from not just day in and day out, but also from snap to snap. The adjustments that I made since learning about my DNA, I go back to just my quality of sleep. The better that you sleep, the better our performance is, not just on the field, but also in the weight room. One of the biggest things I love about Wild Health professionally, I just think it's making me continue to feel young as long as possible, and I'm hitting numbers that I never hit before. I'll recommend Wild Health to friends and family without a doubt. I feel great. I'm continuing to learn, and I feel like we're just grazing the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, so that was Brandon Cooks, NFL personality. He might be a star. I'm not quite sure. He's pretty, consistent, pretty good player. Now this is also, I'm gonna show you another video. This is also Wild Health displaying and talking about what they're all about in this specific genetic-based healthcare programming. Check it out, Real HD Show.
My name is Brandon.
Is genomics-based personalized medicine. It's our answer to a broken medical system, a system that treats every patient the same and tries to treat chronic disease once it's there and not prevent chronic disease.
As a physician, we want to know you better than anyone has ever known you before. And we do that by starting with genetics. We sequence your DNA. We look at all the unique factors that make you who you are.
Every single one of us needs a different diet. We need a different exercise plan. We respond differently to our environment because we all have different genetics.
What's probably even more important are epigenetics and how you've expressed those over time. Every day, everything you do, what you eat, what you're exposed to, your stress levels turn good genes and bad genes on and off. So we really need to look and see how you are right now as a person. We do that with blood testing.
So we need to test your blood for multiple different things, everything from cardiovascular risk factors like lipids to inflammation to endothelial dysfunction. We need to test for levels of inflammation, not just for cardiovascular disease, but for dementia, cancer prevention. We use all of that information along with your genetics to get a better understanding of how you're interacting with your environment.
We then need to combine that with a long conversation, because all of those numbers and data need to be put in the context of you. Otherwise, they're useless.
Where we learn the most about our patients is in sitting down for, honestly, hours on end about what you prefer, what you're worried about, what your history is. And we use that information along with all the data that we've collected with the genomics and the laboratory testing, and we can create a plan for you.
Once we've come up with that plan, our goal then is to figure out what is your goal? What's your number one short-term and long-term goal? And then we try to be very objective and data-driven about getting you there. We make a plan with you and we define what success looks like for you, when we're going to test it, how we're going to know we're on the right track. And then together, we work.
All right. Well, you heard it. They're going to get into your genome, your DNA sequence. They're going to realize certain things about your genetic makeup and how and your epigenetics, which is how you express your genes and your DNA, right? And the Charlie Kirk of it all is that a lot of us don't realize that there's still a lot of institutions out here practicing eugenics. And if you allow them into your, your personal family genome, how do you know they mean well? How do you know that they have your best interests at heart? Let us know. And on the other hand, this may, help to expose some genetic markers that may help you understand your genetics. Diabetes, hypertension, stroke, Alzheimer's, you name it. Whatever's in your family history, it may skip you. You may not have any genetic markers for those things. And would you want to know? Would you risk the knowing of those things so that you could have this convenient? Would you risk the exposure of your family genome or your family DNA strands, right? The history and the lore of it all and the talent of it all. Don't forget the talent. If someone wants to sing like Beyonce or run like Barry Sanders or, are you giving them opportunity and exposure to that DNA sequence so that they can isolate it, copy it, and perform it on whomever has the right amount of cash, So let us know, man. Let us know in the comments what you think about this. How do you feel about, and what do you think about, more importantly, this Wild Health genetic testing and customizable health plans? They would have to, in my opinion, they would have to show me a lot to gain my trust, because I understand the history behind the medical profession, the Night Riders, the Medicaid of it all, the Jim Crow of it all. And I don't want to go into each and every, inkling of medical malpractice as it applies to Black folk. But essentially, we would have to, be very, very leery of genetic customizable healthcare plans. Because like I said, that exposes them to tap into the God gene. And then we don't know where that goes. And then you still got, organizations and places and people and things that, like the Manhattan Institute and other places like that still have that eugenics leaning in the way that they, circumvent their information and their practices. Hey, brother Mozzie, what's going on, man? You gonna get you a genetic healthcare assessment, bro, and start you a genetic healthcare plan?
At this stage of my life, man, I don't need one. I'll just leave it at that. If I was younger, no, I wouldn't do it. But
man.
definitely at this stage, there's no reason to, because the reality is they're trying to find the keys and the secret to life, trying to figure out, here's a group of people on this planet, especially here in the U.S., we've done everything possible to extinguish them, and they're still here. So there's something that must be divine about them. Not only that, when they go to study, they always talk about, things over here. Meanwhile, they run over to Africa and every place where Black people have been, and they start digging. Meanwhile, they're telling you they're doing all this research, and they always talk about white people. They always talk about people in general, and we always know they're talking about white people. And they get you to not like and to think about or to look back into who you are as a people. But meanwhile, they are. So they've done a beautiful job, I think, to get us to not want to look at anything related to melanated people while they go and look at melanated people.
Yeah, we just had Dr. Amos Wilson as our elder and ancestor blueprint, and he talked about self-hatred. And what I got out of that was, and that brother could go with that. And what I got out of that, as far as what we're talking about right now related to it, is if you hate yourself because of the oppressive and colonial conditions that you had to, live under for generations and generations and generations, well, it's easy for you to just give it away, ain't it? Because you don't like yourself anyway. Yeah, you don't care about, what Grandpapa got locked away in the genetic vault. You don't care what Grandmama got locked away in the genetic vault. You don't care what great grandpa and great nana got locked away in the genetic vault. You know what I mean? Because you don't like yourself anyway. So you just gonna give it away on some convenience. Oh, you can help me stop sneezing? Okay. You can see my whole insides. Go ahead. Have at it,
Yep.
Yeah, man. So we're still in the middle of an AAT report, Healthy, Wealthy, and Wiser for a brand new you, because we need more cell power. And this expose just came out in the news. This is about that Roro 19, man. We know that Roro 19. I can't say the whole. I'm not gonna say the whole thing, but according to, and in the Wall Street Journal, according to the CDC, cat of it all, it's official. We could pretty much treat COVID like the flu now. And here's a guide. New guidelines from CDC Friday bring COVID precautions in line with those who have respiratory viruses. Now, the Queen of Fours of the world, the Dr. Phil Valentines of the world, those who have had a health affinity. I'm not even sure if Brother Sabi had anything to say about, the onset of COVID before he transitioned. But a lot of them were saying that diet, sleep, and exercise, and you could cure that thing with a regimen of vitamin C. And YouTube shut my show down for a week about 2 years ago, saying I was giving out disinformation and misinformation. And now 2 years later, here this is. Now, do you think the mass immunity is the causality for the weakening of what this is? Or do you, because this is what they'll tell you, it was the mass immunity. But what in your purview, what do you think is the methodology that led to them making this declaration?
They just been BSing us the whole time. They knew what they were doing. It's typical social engineering that's taking place to get us to, fall for the okie doke, But because we believe anything the CDC says, even though some of the things that they tell us don't make sense, it's a way in which you can make money. It's a way in which you can manipulate the population. It's just another one of those many things that we have. Everything now is flu-like. Even AIDS is flu-like, or HIV is flu-like. Well, then again, the flu is the flu, man.
Pardon me, I'm just trying to turn this phone off. Folks know that I'm taping my show right about now. Knock it off. Call me back. Anyway, so we're here for this tonight. The gig is up. You familiar with this, bro? No more Grubhub, no more Lyft, no more Uber, no more Instacart. Maybe not immediately, but it's definitely financial effery at its finest, because Biden put a cut on all of the side hustles by mandating. Are you familiar with this, bro? You familiar with this financial news?
I didn't read up on it, only because I was on the road a lot this weekend.
Gotcha.
But I did, hear some of it. How once again, everybody love this boy, man. So we asked that question again: do we vote Democrat? Do we vote Republican?
Right.
Or do we go third party?
Right.
I mean, we got to ask ourselves that question. Here, once again, Democrats are killing opportunities for Black folks, especially young Black folks, to make some money. And older Black folks who may be on a fixed income, but they got a nice little Honda, a little Toyota. They can, in the middle of the day, they can run around, do some Instacart for a couple of the elder sisters out there, and the elder brothers out there. And now, once again, the Democratic Party is meddling with it again.
Yeah, man. They want to take folks from a 1099 status to a W-2 status. They had that big ruling in California a little while ago that Ubers and Lyfts weren't their own self-employed. So now they just take that to the next level. Here's a video about it. Check it out. Real HD Show. Trying to find the main one because I have about 3 of them. Okay, here we go. Check this out. Real HD Show.
On here, in 12 days, side hustles will become illegal in America.
Side hustle could soon be classified as a second job,
thanks to new labor rules unveiled by the Biden administration this week.
The move has riled some companies who rely heavily on gig workers, whose costs could increase by as much as 30%.
On January 9th, the Biden administration issued a rule that could curb gig work, and this would go into effect on March 11th. Well, the very next day, January 10th, the U.S. Department of Labor published a final rule replacing the current test for determining whether a worker is an employee or an independent contractor under the Fair Labor Standards Act. So now this is law. So in 12 days, this is what's going to happen. Presently, 50% of Americans have a side hustle, even if they earn $100,000 a year. And 80 million people have a side hustle in America. 80 million.
Yeah, man. So that's just laying it out real nice and neat and easy for you. They're trying to take folks from a 1099 situation to a W-2 situation. And
another thing too, it's one W-2 is where the government gets a lot of its tax money. If I now got a side hustle, even though I declared as 1099, I would have to start making changes to the tax code for entrepreneurs, small business, self-employed, and you can't do that. So the easiest way to get the money is go after the W-2 worker.
Not only that, but there's something else going on. It gets deeper. Real HD Show. This is about 3 minutes. Bear with us.
saying that banks are going to collapse after March 11th. Fox is saying that 2024 is going to be the biggest crash of our lifetime. CNN is saying that Wall Street is worried about another regional banking crisis. You have doomsayers on social media saying the exact same thing, but they're amplifying it. So what's happening on March 11th that's going to lead to this inevitable crash? The reason why this happened is because of the bank failures that happened in 2023. There were 5 total bank failures last year, Silicon Valley, Signature Bank, and First Republic being the largest ones. The Federal Reserve came in and implemented the Bank Term Funding Program, also known as BTFP. Pretty much cheap loans given to banks to make sure that they could stay liquid amidst all the hard times. And for a while, banks actually were making money off of this because the interest that they had to pay was less than the interest that they were getting holding their reserves at the Fed. The banks were actually getting 0.47% in profit by doing this. Now those loans are coming to an end. Right now, the total balance of all the loans taken, at least last month, was $161 billion. So now there are wild predictions for an economic collapse. Fox News provides a study saying that there are 186 banks vulnerable to a SVB-like collapse. The fact that the office sector in commercial real estate is plummeting is not helping banks that are heavily invested in those types of loans, like NYCB. Here's something you have to know. Very, very wealthy people profit from whatever the mainstream media says. What I've noticed is if the mainstream media says go left, the very wealthy people are going right. Keep in mind, I don't think that we're headed for extremely prosperous times or that we're in prosperous times. I just doubt that we are due for an imminent recession at any minute. Here's an investment fun fact. If there is bad economic news being spread all over the internet for months, we say that it's already priced into the market. It's only the office sector in the commercial real estate market that's struggling right now, and they represent about 4% of the entire real estate market. And since a lot of those offices are no longer being occupied for working, they are being converted to apartments. The Wall Street Journal has said that turning empty offices into apartments is getting even harder, but the number of office conversions is poised to increase sharply this year. Now, this is a chart released by the actual FDIC of the problem banks from 2008 to 2023. 2022 and the beginning of 2023 were rough, almost 200 problem banks. We are now down to 56. Last year, the major banks passed with flying colors against the Federal Reserve stress test, and the most recent results will be released June this year. And my question to you is, who do you believe? Do you believe Fox News that sells outrage? Do you believe CNN that sells the same outrage? Do you believe the influencers who are echoing all of the mainstream media? Or do you believe actual representatives of the United States economy?
All right, we're back. Real HD Show. What's your thoughts, bro? On this banking and gig economy chicanery and debauchery, man. What's your thoughts, man? Because I think that's what we're dealing with, and I'm gonna insert something once you say how you want to react to that, and let us know at home, man. Put it in the chat. What do you think about the banking and the gig economy chicanery and debauchery that's going on right now?
Well, one of the things that has to happen if you're going to make the changes to our economy in terms of bringing about everyone using a digital currency, you got to have some bank failures in there.
See, you jumping the gun, bro. But go ahead. Go ahead. As we get 15-minute cities coming online, as we have everybody focusing on all the craziness with the immigrants, straining the system. It's just par for the course, man. Yeah, man.
Yes.
So the Fed predicted last year, they predicted unemployment was at 3.7%. And then they predicted that unemployment was inevitable to rise up to 4.4%. So how did they know that all of a sudden? How could they make that prediction? They got their Swami hat on, they got their genie hat on.
They manipulate and control the economy at all times.
And if they had an inkling that Biden was going to pass this law that would ultimately affect 80 million people, you think that's going to have an effect on the economy or not? Just a little bit.
Exactly. That's pretty much it in a nutshell, man.
Um, yeah, man. And then they also said it's so bad that the federal emergency loan bank loan that they gave because of all of the banks that closed last year is running out. So now your local banks won't be able to camouflage their issues anymore.
Yep.
And keep themselves liquid. And then once all of the costs are aggregated for that, they're going to pass those costs on to the average person. That banks with their institution.
Yeah.
Or do you? Well, here's a question for you, bro, because I know you're financially astute. Do you see a lot of these local banks as they go under this? Do you see them being folded and consolidated into larger institutions like your Wells Fargos and your Chases and your this and your that, simply because they're just collateral damage and CBDC has to happen?
I think what you're having is a lot of the banks that could withstand it, like some of your larger and well-run, what do you call them, credit unions. They're going to go along with the plan because they're a credit union, and in order to maintain that status, they're just going to roll with it. So they're not really going to fold per se. It's a lot of the commercial banks that you got your big boys, you got some of your small boys who've been able to stay in there because it's there's some rich white folks who they parked their money there and they left it there for the past 3 generations, and then there's those startups that's 30, 40 years old that are out making some risky investments, and those are the first ones that are going to get eaten up.
Right. And that's what they actually were saying was the reason and the rationality behind why Signature and some of those other banks folded, because they made some careless investments with their liquidity, and now they're paying for it. Now they head over their skis, so on and so forth. Let us know at home what you think. But I got one more vid I want to play in terms of this, and I want us to think about how this pertains to us as a people. And always we got to do this on our show. What does this have to do? What on earth does this got to do with us? All right, let's check this out. Real HD Show.
Economy is broadcasting the lowest black unemployment level ever as a collective win. In reality, however, the economy is leaving our people behind. Here's what's really happening with the black unemployment rate. In April, the black unemployment rate fell to 4.7%, a historic low. This is being touted as a win for the American economy and for the economic health of black America. But underneath these numbers is a deeper issue. Many workers in the black labor force left the job search entirely. This means there are thousands of workers who weren't represented in the U.S. unemployment rates because only those who were searching for work are counted. There are a variety of reasons for black workers leaving the workforce. From a lack of advancement opportunities to discrimination in hiring practices, black people are facing challenges with finding and keeping work. Those who stayed in the job market are benefiting from over 250,000 jobs added to the economy, but they shouldn't be seen as any better than those who didn't find work. Gaining employment in this capitalistic society is tough. Reports like these often hide the real truth about the economy. Many of our people have left the workforce altogether because of the lack of job opportunities or unfair hiring practices. When we talk about unemployment, we have to tell the whole story. Push Black Finance is a black-led nonprofit dedicated to empowering.
All right, I put their video on because they always hit me up with like advertisements and little messages and little DMs about what's popping. So I saw this video from them and I said it was pretty good. And we always have to deal with that untold story, that savage inequality. So regardless of how the macro economy is doing, how we doing, you know what I mean? And what's our story and how is our story manifesting into what the outlook for the economy is. What's our story, Brother Mozzie? What's our story, everybody at home? We got people on right now. Let us know, man. How we doing in the economy? How you doing in the economy? Let us know.
I've been doing okay, but my okay don't mean too much, because all it takes is one or two changes in our economy, and I'm gonna be like everybody else, no matter what assets I got. You have good enough assets that if things stay as they are right now, I'm living large. But if things start to go south, I can't withstand it. And I'm not going to even sit here and fake like I can. So that's why my focus has been, one, get my eating in order, as Elijah Muhammad always said, eat to live and not live to eat.
Yes, sir.
So that
yes,
way,
sir.
when food can make it scarce, your body's used to and can function on that one meal a day or something of that nature. The other thing is making sure you have certain things in your house, be it a generator, how to filter water, weaponry so you can defend your household. So all those little things like that we got to focus on, because when shit hit the fan, what are we going to do?
Yes,
I can't
sir.
go hire an army. I don't have artificial anything that can really compete on that level.
You gonna get you one of them? You gonna get you one of them ecto suits and jump in it like Voltron?
I might have to, man.
You remember that show? The dude,
Yeah.
the Asian dude was in the suit. These Jazz, what's the deal, sweetie? How you doing?
I'm well. Peace, y'all.
Peace. How you feeling? I know you was under the weather for a minute.
Oh man, I'm 80% back.
Oh, that's
Still,
better than what it was, right?
yeah, I ain't gonna lie to you. They try to take me out.
Oh, I hear it in the
I
voice.
was the same way the past couple of days. Well, actually, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Thursday, Friday in particular was killing me, man.
Yeah, no, I got hit with COVID, then pneumonia. I had double pneumonia.
That's not good.
Yeah, so I'm finally back, getting my life back, and just, man, you never know how much you appreciate your health until you have to go through something like that.
Yeah. Are you keeping up? Are you keeping up on what we putting down on the show?
Yeah, I saw about the gig is up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I saw that.
You hip to what Biden is doing with these trying to turn the 1099s into W-2 folk?
Yeah, I see it, but I think what it is that because of the fact that now that more everyday citizens are getting, hit to the corporate structure, and they're finding loopholes to avoid from having to pay into the government, I think that now they're trying to enforce and because I've even watched it now, like how they're going back and auditing and sending out letters to people who haven't even filed taxes in like 7 years.
Right.
And, they've made over $400,000. And in real life, like, as I've been, home, I've been reading a lot, and it's like people don't even realize, like, there's really no true penal law code that says that we as American citizens are obligated or required to file taxes.
Don't go there with that.
And so, but the problem is that the government, once you file a tax return, that basically you're then now required to do so every year going forward.
Locked
in. And
in.
that's how they lock you in.
Locked up. Yep. That
So
W-2.
So, and then with a 1099 contractor versus a W-2 employee, there's more overhead, more expenses, more regulations, more compliance, and more that the government has to basically police and to govern and overseeing when it comes to small businesses. It takes away the autonomy of being able to be financially free in our country.
Good point. Great point. Do you think that the businesses will be able to withstand having to revert all of their employees back to. Well, I already know the answer. I just want to know your answer, you and Mozzie and
Oh,
everybody
the
at
answer is
home.
no.
No.
Because that,
Can
that
they
was
give
not
can
their
they can
business
they give
model.
people health insurance, bennies? Can
No,
they give
that was
people
never their
all
business.
those things that they
It was
didn't?
never part of their business model.
Right. So what does that mean for the people who are doing all these side hustles?
Oh wow, they got their money.
Dumb.
I don't know. I think the problem is that the government is too busy trying to tax everything and monopolize off of everyday citizens and consumers where they're not putting the focus where it needs to go. We have all this money that has been generated and being sent overseas, and all these migrant people coming in and getting income and housing and all these benefits off of the back of US taxpayers. And that's where my main issue will always lie. If you're going to take the money from the citizen, nobody in America should be homeless and nobody should not have food. Period.
But here's another dynamic that needs to be talked about. One of America's biggest expenditures is education, military, health, and in the form of Medicaid and Medicare.
But our education
Oh,
doesn't
let me finish.
Oh, I'm sorry, you paused. I thought you were done.
Education, not generating much by way of taxes. Most of your health agencies are nonprofits. And your big corporate companies that have these huge government defense contracts, their tax rate went from 27%, 20 years ago, down to 13%. I mean, not even that long ago. Actually, it was still a little higher. Under Trump, it went down even more. Under Trump and Obama. Don't let them fool you. Obama lowered the corporate tax rate also. So we're not collecting money from the big dogs. So we got to get it from the average consumer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the problems that we have to call out. And here's something that we don't talk about. The reality is we're running huge deficits.
Mm-hmm.
We getting money we got China and Japan and European countries are buying up treasury notes so we can have money to then turn around and give back to other people. We're building a financial mess.
Right.
So in order to keep this government going and to keep this government running, we got to find money from somewhere. And since we will not tax corporations, because most major corporations that can pay the billions of dollars, they've already been poised through NAFTA to just leave the country. I don't know if you guys seen the article about how the Mexican pesos is outpacing and outperforming the American dollar.
Yep.
I mean, that was always a joke. So while we, once again, are concerned about CRT, DEI, these are the kind of things that are going on.
But if you also even look at it, though, you have a large amount of Americans that are also leaving the United States, alarming in higher rates. You have more Black and brown bodies that are moving and relocating to Mexico or moving to Ghana or moving to other European countries because of the fact that, the money goes longer out there. I mean, in Mexico City, there's a huge Black population that's up and coming down there. And so it makes all the sense. They're coming here and getting all these free resources and stuff, but yet we're here in the home.
Immigrants are not Mexican right now.
What?
Most of the immigrants that they're talking about right now are not Mexicans.
No, I understand, and I know that. A lot of them are from South America, from your Venezuela's, Ecuador, from the South Americans, countries, and I get that. Those were the majority of the migrant workers that where they come from. They even come from over from Africa as well. Because I've worked in the migrant population out here in Orleans County in New York. So we have a huge migrant population here in upstate New York, and they come from Africa and also from South America, not just Mexico alone.
Yeah. Well, and I just say that just to say to give people, how to kind of level set this in their head. America, under two things, for the past 20 years, there's been a net loss in terms of it's been a net loss in terms of Mexicans coming over to America like it was before. Before there would be so many millions, and the numbers have been dwindling every year. And don't forget that the one guy who sent back more Mexicans than any president in the history of America, Obama, he was sending them back, man. He was not keeping them. He was sending them back. But you know why? Because they needed those people who had that wherewithal to say, I'm going to go to America and I'm going to work. Well, you know what? You got that same work ethic. We just relocated another U.S. factory to Mexico. We need you to go back there to work. We don't need you to stay in this country anymore. And that's what's been happening. So we have to look at that stuff and understand that, we have no tax base anymore. We don't have a base for we didn't even have the kind of industries. Typically you have like the giant manufacturing plant. Well, even though it had so many people working for the manufacturing plant, it creates other industries to support that. And one to support the workers and one to support the factory. So, one factory job can generate 10 extra jobs. Those things aren't here anymore. So now what we got people doing, we got them on the gig economy. Why we got them on the gig economy? Because that way it's on you if you want to go to work. If you don't go to work, you can't say it's the big bad company anymore.
So let me ask you this question. The gig is up. They want to transform folks from 1099ers to W2ers. Do you think this has a lot to do with the influx of the migrant population and trying to get that tax base wrestled in? What do you think do you think that that's a thing? So if you got the husband goes out in the morning, he works from sun up to sundown, and then the wife works from sundown to sun up doing that thing. She on that street, coffee dating, right? And how do you wrangle the taxable income in that regard? So do you guys think that that's a situation that's popping, or what do you guys, and at home, what do you guys think about those things? Because I know I was just in New York about maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and in Brooklyn, that was out of control. In the morning, they're lined up and down 2 and 3 blocks to get work, and at night, they're lined up and down 2 and 3 blocks to get what they got to get and do what they got to do.
That's what they came here to do.
Right. And I think ultimately with the 1099 contractor, it's the work-life balance, that's autonomy, like I said before. And then not for nothing, I mean, I've been working since I was 15 years old as a W-2 employee. And when I first opened my business and became self-employed, I was able to reduce my adjustable gross income more significantly as a self-employed independent contractor and have more deductions and less tax liabilities as an independent contractor versus a W-2 employee.
For sure.
And so with that being said, this country was built off of the infrastructure of a corporation or businesses. And so now that more and more Americans are learning the loopholes and are finding the loopholes to work in their benefit, and to also provide some of that financial freedom back to them and giving less to the government, I think that's more or less what the government is more concerned about versus migrants coming over and working. Because if you have less and less tax liabilities, you have less money going to the government.
But let me tell you this part. When you're talking about getting less and less money to the government, what you're doing is you're setting yourself up. And they know that. Obama spoke to that when he came into office. And one of his State of the Union addresses that he made, he talked about, well, I don't know if it was State of the Union, but one of the many, Obama was always on TV talking about something. But he talked about, you can't continue to have side gigs that you're not reporting. And then, or that you are reporting, you get 1099, you're doing everything you can to get all these deductions. But now you want a $500,000 house on $80,000 income. Or you're not reporting all your income, but you're forgetting that you're using that credit card when they ask for zip code, all that different kind of stuff. They're narrowing it down where you are. You can't then live in a $400,000 house, driving a nice new Range and Jag or Mercedes Benz, and don't think that the government ain't gonna come after you for the fact that your income is this, yet you riding around with this. And that's got to be accounted for.
Of course it does. So what I'm saying is that instead of giving that money, because we pay into Social Security, every W-2 employee pays into Social Security. I've been paying into ever since I started working. By the time I get ready to retire, Social Security, my money will not be there. So instead of taking that money and paying it into Social Security and diverting that money and putting it to a mutual fund, a Roth IRA, a retirement account, where I can move and allocate my money to make myself be in a better financial situation and not give it to the government, who's constantly taking the money and misappropriating it and not using it for the benefit of our citizens and people in this country. Absolutely, I'm going to do what I have to do to make sure that I get ahead. And if the government wants to be upset because I was smart in allocating my money to make it work smarter for me instead of putting it in their pockets, then so be it. But you can't get mad because I have a $50,000 income and I'm driving around in a $100,000 car. So what?
I feel you. We talking about how they want their money. That's all.
They want their money, but they're not working to get their money, because at the end of the day, a lot of these people that are making these rules and creating these policies, they not from our generation. They created the problems that exist for us millennials and Gen Zs. They can't relate to what we're currently going through. They're, you know what I'm saying? If you really look at all the people in Congress, they're all damn near baby boomers.
But
just about. So they have no idea what it is like to try to live and exist in this country in the current present state, because they created these problems. And now we have to figure out how to survive in them.
But just know, there's a lot of money in Social Security.
And they mortgage on that Social Security. Let me tell you something. That money that's in Social Security, that money is a crypto. It's a virtual number. There is no real backing to any of that money that's sitting there.
That's legit money.
If they keep giving money overseas the way that they are, there is not going to be Social Security.
No. Social Security, that's the big fight. Social Security is money, is an asset that this country has, that everybody and their mother want to get their hands on. Because in that also, where the Social Security is also where a lot of these private pensions are. The problem you have is there's this many baby boomers. And so when they're paying, everything's good. But you got this amount of people paying now, and people's life expectancy is like that. So what's going to happen is, you got that baby boomer who has a great pension plan who don't need Social Security, but they're taking Social Security. There's not many people paying into the Social Security or paying into the pension plans anymore.
But as they should, it's their money if they paid into it. I don't believe in the fact
I'm not
that
arguing that point. I'm just all I'm trying to do is show you that you have some assets there that are tremendously large that people are salivating trying to get their hands on it. That's all. But another one that's a big one that's going to people have to address soon is, for example, these state pensions. Educators, state and city employees, they have these huge pensions. And what's happening with these pensions now is not many people are paying into them anymore. There's more people starting to collect. So you're starting to get to that tipping point. And then you got, because of the way in which the select people want to look out for themselves and their own people, you got a guy who was a lifetime sanitation worker making $40,000, $50,000 a year. And he's now collecting a pension at $80,000, $90,000 a year. The math ain't mathing. So that's going to be a problem. But the reality is, as we are falling short in other areas, what do we do with that type of money, those assets that are lying there? Because right now, if we leave those assets alone, we're in big doo-doo. We are going to crash. These banks are not everything's just falling apart. But if you siphon off and make a few changes to the laws, we can start gobbling up that money.
Essentially, that's what this entire gig economy kind of regulation that Biden just put out. It's going to put more people out of work than it's going to hire or keep people employed. But it's a way, in my opinion,
they're going to shut their doors.
Yeah, it's a way to get everybody on the CBDC page.
There you go. And
then something disturbing hit me, and I wanted to show you guys, get your thoughts on it real quick. Saw this article about food stamps ending, and they were supposed to be ending sometime this month. But then I see a contrasting article that Rochesterians, if you qualify, can get $500 a month.
Guaranteed basic income.
Yeah, so I'm like, they're going to change you from a 1099er to a W-2er. They're saying that food stamps are going to end, but they're giving you 500 balls. This sounds like management to me. Hey, Jimmy Kim at home, you watching right now. Does this sound like management to me? Are they going to give it to you in the form of a check so you can go get the cash dollars? Are they going to give it to you in the form of some sort of digital card where they can surveil you and and see how you're purchasing, what you're purchasing, at what interval you're purchasing, and all of that? Let us know at home. Talk to us right now.
Remember what they did with the taxes? You can get your taxes now on a little card, get your little piece of plastic. So now you're walking around with a nice little card with about $8,000-$9,000 on it. It's for these folks who get the earned income credit. And they're going to do the same thing with their social service benefit card. It's going to be the same thing with this. They're going to give you a card, and they're going to track what you're doing. So if you think you're going to go there and take the cash out and then give it to them, they're going to say, yep, we gave it to them. They took the cash out, and that was that. And don't think some of this money might not have no nano chip programming in it, where they're tracking the money. Okay, it came out of this machine, and it links to your card, and now you give it to the guy, and it links into the system that he got. So they know what's going on, man. This stuff sounds like it's science fiction, but it's real deal, real time stuff that's going on. But all of it. Now, the program in Rochester is only a 1 year program because they only have enough grant money to do that. But to me, that's just doing that's that last test run that you're doing. You're gonna look at the data, and then you're gonna say, okay, this is how we're gonna do this. It's like any other, like rolling out a vaccine or rolling out a new anything, man. You got to run those tests, man.
So this is case study right now. How the folks gonna react when their rights and their privileges are, trifled with?
Yeah.
Are they gonna line up and do the electric slide, or are they gonna challenge and make a ruckus about what they feel is not Just let us know what you think about this topic. Tap in, because we got another topic we want to get to before the show's over. Power to the people news. Wait, what just happened? This just happened. So you guys hip to the whole TikTok thing? They trying to ban TikTok?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's interesting, what I wanted to cover was this right here. It says Congress getting thousands of phone calls from youth urging lawmakers to block the TikTok bill from Representative Chip Roy. But it's not just block the bill. They're saying they're getting ready to commit suicide if the app is banned and unusable, or if they don't break, from the partnership or the parent host company that's Asian originated. So what do you think of that, man? Are we in crazy times right now? Is this a different way of, is this that kind of, technology convenience going crazy, or too much blue screen? Or do we really have to be worried about our youth ready to commit suicide in elementary, high school, and young people because they don't have their their acts of convenience on deck at all times? What do y'all think?
I don't think it's acts of convenience; it's their life.
Agreed.
And what was that movie with Tay Diggs and the guy who played the Dark Knight, Christian Bale?
Okay.
Remember in that movie, it was kind of like Fahrenheit 451, except it was, they had the swords and the guns and all that. But everything was under control. Society was out of control. We had all types of craziness going on. And what happens? Eventually they bring it under control. And to me, this is just one of those many things that we have out there that is allowing for life and society to get out of control. And it gets out of control to the point where you now have these social engineers who will come through and say, this is what it's going to be from now on. We know these things work. Here's the research. Here's the case studies. This is what we know to be best. This is how we're going to bring back order to everything. It sounds far-fetched and it sounds crazy, but, after seeing THX-1138 when I was younger, we're moving closer and closer to that.
Jazzy, what you think? Do you think the youth are going to do like they did in Chicago and just wild out and, jump on cars and jump on roofs and stomp out buildings and create fires? Or because they're so acculturated into these apps and these social media platforms? What's your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I think we're in a different generation where they don't like any limitations or constraints. And the minute that they feel that they're being limited or restricted in any capacity from being able to express themselves, whether it be via social media or mainstream, that they're definitely going to
equilibrium. Godspeed.
Yep. They're definitely going to they're gonna react. They're gonna, because let's be realistic. This generation here, they don't have the same regard for social norms and constructs. So they're gonna do whatever they feel they need to do to be heard and to get what they demand and what they want. And that's just the world of the millennial.
Well,
so you think that they're that much off kilter emotionally and
absolutely
stability wise that they would go out and do reckless stuff because they don't have their conveniences?
Absolutely. You have more. Let's be realistic here. School shootings wasn't a big thing in the early 90s. You hit the 2000s and this era. How many frequent school shootings were there? And it was all because either they were being bullied or they didn't have, you had a kid that killed his mom because she took away his PlayStation. The boy was like 11 or 12 years old.
Yeah, you had to remember the kid who was in high school and he beat up his teacher. He beat his teacher to a pulp because she took away his Nintendo Switch or whatever it was.
Yep, and then you got kids that are fighting teachers because they taking away cell phones and all of that. So absolutely,
But,
absolutely.
you know, and the interesting thing is this though. It's amazing how, you know, we want to pass a bill. But you know what I used to do in my house, man? I used to block websites.
Right? Talk
I used to
about
block
it.
certain things.
No
And I
TV.
didn't
Dad
and
did
I
too.
didn't put the app on the laptops that they had. You know, I gave them laptops, and that's the world they grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I did? I know how DNS worked. So while they're sitting out there just browsing regularly, the page just say coming up. I'm like, Dad, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know, man. That's the internet. I ain't got nothing to do with that.
Yeah,
You know,
my parents did the
they
same
know I
thing.
did.
Right.
My dad
Ultimately,
did.
they knew I did.
grew up in that, and my dad did the same thing. Used to put passwords on the TV
No,
channels.
I ain't do none of that. Nope.
My dad did all of
Everything was
that,
done
and I
on the-
always found a way around it because when you are determined, and if there is a will, there was a way. And let me tell you,
Yeah,
my
you
daddy
found
can
them
tell you,
codes,
I was a queen hackster, boy. You couldn't play
you
with
could,
me.
you couldn't hack this. You know why? Because once again, you don't know that something's going on. And
Oh
so,
no,
and you wouldn't-
I figured it out.
Yeah, you wouldn't have figured this out. Trust me.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
talking about King Hacker here? I don't.
I know
and
you
once
King,
again,
Mr. Tech guy over
but
there.
here's the thing: I was working with DNS,
Okay.
and so nobody would ever think about DNS unless you're in networking.
Right.
You're not gonna think about the DNS that moves this stuff in cyberspace.
Right.
They just know, like, oh, that one's not okay. That doesn't show up. Let me look here. Oh, that's not showing up. Oh well. Oh, this showed up.
Yeah.
So
That's like me looking for
But-
using
and I just say that just to say we could make the changes to TikTok that we want to make, but there's a laziness factor in America.
Right.
The second thing is, do we have the knowledge that we used to have to do things, or did we outsource it to everybody else? So now the only thing we can do is block it 100%.
Yeah, I think we become too codependent.
Which is not
For
as
sure.
bright as we used to be.
For sure.
We don't have the talent no more. Why?
I won't say we don't have the
everybody
talent.
else.
I just say we don't have the will.
Or how about this? How about this? The training and the exposure.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the parents are what do you call that? Indoctrinated into the conveniences.
Oh yeah.
Then what do you think they're gonna do with the kids? Oh, here, take this iPad. Go over there and just be.
Because she over there doing her thing.
Yeah, my grandmother and my mom and all of them used to be happy. I watch the cartoons on Saturday morning. I'm good for 3 hours.
Because they cleaning, they cooking.
Yeah, they doing whatever they doing.
Or they get a chance.
That doesn't mean I'm being exposed to my best self. That doesn't mean I'm being reared to my best talent. You know what I mean? During that time period. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have a lack of, because you're not being exposed, you're not being motivated, you're not being stimulated in those areas. And what you are being stimulated in is tech. And we're not even the coders and the algorithm creators and any of them.
The end user.
Very few.
Can always be manipulated. And that's what it means to be caught up in the matrix. Because the matrix is you can always be manipulated. Because you're always the end user. You're never the creator.
So what do you need to be in order to make shifts? How do you transition to a shift maker?
Time.
Remember Kung Fu? Remember you used to have the master with the beard, and he would stroke the beard.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, "Snatch the pebble from my hand."
There you go. Gotta learn to walk that rice paper.
Yeah, you got to carry up the 19 buckets of water from the well that was a mile away.
Exactly.
The whole time.
I got one that's
You know
even
what I mean?
better. 36 chambers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Return of the White Lotus, right?
Yeah, man.
Flying Lotus. I forget, is it called White Lotus or Flying Lotus? Hey,
White
Godspeed,
Lotus.
let me know what
White
it's
Lotus.
called. White
I
Lotus?
think it's the White Lotus.
White
It's the White
Lotus,
Lotus.
yeah. Yeah, my man was impenetrable except for one spot.
Yep.
But mainly what I mean by that is you got to instill a discipline.
It's going to require a lot of education,
Mhm.
a lot of learning, and a lot of discipline
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
time. And the question
Mhm.
is, at the rate in which things are changing, do we have the time?
Mhm. Yep,
I
there
think,
you go.
and
Go ahead.
I don't know, because we're such an instant, you know, everything has to be instant. There's no delayed gratification anymore.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Everything's
Yeah.
at your fingertips. Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of things at their fingertips, man, Godspeed, let me know what you think about this one, man. The FBI colluded with Bank of America to get all the financial records of all of the customers who purchased guns without a warrant. So now the joint committees are interviewing Bank of America and the FBI out of Charlotte to find out why they're giving up this vital private information. So anybody that bought a gun in the last 2-3 years, if you had a Bank of America account, Chase account, we just talked about how all of the big banks are going to be okay with all of this, gig economy nonsense. And now you got the gig economy. Now you got the big dog banks colluding with the FBI to usurp your private information.
They're terrorists.
That's nuts, ain't it though?
That's some terroristic shit right there, boy.
Ain't it? And then check this out. In relation to that, there was a data breach last month. 26 billion records leaked.
Yeah.
All over the country. Say it again, bro.
They said the mother of all breaches.
That's
Yeah. Let me just tell you. I want to tell you guys the companies. Let me pull this up so I can just get that one paragraph off, and then we can chop it up. But y'all can tell me what y'all think about it while I'm pulling this up. Okay, I got it. Okay, so it says, according to findings, the database leak includes re-index leaks, breaches in privately sold databases. Wow. The largest chunk of records, including 1.5 million, comes from the Chinese social media giant Tencent, along with 504 million from Tencent's Weibo, 360 million from MySpace, and 281 from Twitter. Other notable organizations embroiled into the leak include Adobe, Dropbox, LinkedIn, MyFitnessPal, Telegram, and other governmental bodies. A significant number of smaller, lesser-known organizations are also impacted. What do y'all think, man?
I'm a little surprised because one of the big selling points on Telegram was that Telegram was, was impenetrable. It was made by some Russian hackers, and it was autonomous. Now you're hearing, listen, they're trying to get paid like everybody else. So they gave it over to whomever they gave it over to, but it's gotten hacked. It's the reality is, unless you're completely off the grid, you ain't off the grid, and everybody's gonna have some data breaches at some point in time, and we have to decide, how we're going to function in this world, because the new currency really is data that you can buy and sell.
So, of course, we have the WFs of it all. We got the BRICS of it all. We got the Fed Now of it all. And we got the Texas trying to create their own CBD of it all. So we got a lot of people, a lot of factions fighting for hegemony and power all over the place. And then you get something like this popping up. Do you guys think, and Godspeed, you can let us know at home too, do you guys think this is a means to control sovereignty? because if they curtail and regulate how and when and if you use your weapon, and I'm pretty sure Mazza, they got that little switch they want to put on the guns.
Yep.
And then it monitors how you can't pull the trigger, and it monitors how you use your trigger piston.
Listen, all this stuff is little pieces that adds up to total control. The whole is equal to the sum of its parts. It's in a nutshell.
Do you think there's going to become a greater black market or dark market for guns, ammo, all of that type of stuff? Because now you're making it illegal, and anything is illegal becomes taboo, becomes, high premiums. And now, that becomes more of a economical, kind of sweet tooth, if you will.
Yeah, no, I think it's just gonna keep rolling the way it's rolling, man.
Godspeed says they want to put the Obama switch on the gun. And I said Obama because he was the one I first heard bring it up as something he wanted to see happen. Yeah. Now, is there going to be some mass? Is there going to be a mass event that mandates that this happens? Like more school shootings, more, some sort of, how all these yahoos are running around talking about civil war and this and this and that.
It's going to have to be something more than what we've been going through, because the argument of now let me regulate the handgun because somebody had an assault rifle, and that's not playing much. It's played out now. People don't want to hear that. Because most of the killings that go on, the illegal guns are handguns that people are getting shot with. So to further this along, there will be more shootings with handguns as opposed to assault rifles.
Yeah, mags and all that. All right, man, let's keep it moving. Last one for the night. Since we're talking about control and we're talking about sovereignty, homegirl from our state just enacted stop and frisk by any other name. New York governor sends National Guard to subway and crime capital. Kathy Hochul decision to counteract what she says is surge in crime met with dismay by residents and police reform activists. Now, they're saying it's not stop and frisk. It's not of that regard, but they're not leaving you any other choice. They're like, yo, get your bags checked as you go into these subways and be prepared to be searched and seized and all type of stuff, or don't ride the subways. And they know the millions upon millions upon millions of people in all these major inner cities, especially New York, because of course New York is going to be the case study for most things going on in the country. And now, does that sort of stop and frisk make its way up here to Rochester, into the bus station, which is our kind of transportation, mass transportation hub, to Chicago subways, San Francisco trains, all of it? What do y'all think, man?
What they're going to do is they're going to provide incentives for cities that are cash strapped, and that's what they're going to end up doing.
Oh, I thought somebody was going to say something. Okay, my bad. Yeah, I think this is stop and frisk by any other name. And they've been trying to institute this thing for a long time. And then, of course, with the recent rash, I guess, incidents on the subway. Remember, they had that thing and this was in my neck of the woods, up in the Bronx, where I'm from. The man ran up on his sister and put doodle all in her face. And I don't know if you guys remember that story. It was right after the flood. Remember the big flood that hit New York?
Yeah.
And then a lot of the folks were, let's see what Godspeed has to say. I say go for it because nothing else they're doing is working in the subway system for safety. That's interesting. So you'd give up your sovereignty for safety, or what is presumed sovereignty? Because these are the same people that have, the neo-Nazi contingent wrapped up in them. Oath keepers, executionists, you name it. You name it. Beans, tomato, all kind of crazy racial groups that comprise these police forces. Extremist groups. And are these going to be the people that actually manage and micromanage the subway systems and the transportation systems across the country? I'll be carrying a screwdriver on the train. I feel you on that. Yeah, man. What do you think? You think this is going to be is this something that festers and soars and spreads?
I think
Or do you think this is an isolated city-related incident?
I think it's probably isolated incident because I remember they were doing news reporters were out down by the MTA, and a lot of the patrons were not paying to ride the trains and stuff like that. And if you live in New York City, there's also another tax that's also added for those who do ride the public transportation. So not only are you paying taxes for the MTA, but then you're also required to pay to ride the MTA. So it was like they're double dipping. And so now you got a lot of patrons that are absconding from paying and are,
Ooh, I like that word. Say that word again.
Absconding.
Ooh, that's a SAT word of the day.
And
boys and girls, that's the SAT word of the day. Go ahead.
And so now they're trying to find another way to kind of, like you said, police and control to ensure that they're getting their money. I think it has more to do with generating revenue versus than it is about policing and safety.
Making sure everybody pays with that digital.
Right. And then we don't have as many. I mean, if you really think about it, in New York State, we're closing prisons. We don't have a lot of, and with our bail reform and the way that the new laws, they're not making no money off of incarceration. So this is just another way to monopolize off of the justice system.
3-car Monty. That's
so you think they get people off a bunch of petty crimes?
Correct.
In this regard, lock them up.
And that's the incentive, and that's where a lot of their merit-based incentives come, based on how much revenue they generate for the department, their incarceration rate, their their arrest rates. All of those things are driven into their performances, and then also play a huge impact as to where they fall in promotions for sergeant, staff sergeant, and so on and so forth. It's all merit-driven based.
Meritocracy, if you will, quote
Correct.
Unquote.
So it's ultimately it's predominantly about money.
How do you think this? How does everybody on the call right on the stage right now feel about how this is going to impact the migrants? They're already kicking the cops behind. So do you think that continues, or do you think they make an example of folks? They plantation politic folk. What do you think?
I think the ones that are comply and abide will be fine, and the ones that they won't will just basically take up a bed.
So is that the new? Hey, Godspeed. Is that the new? We talked about it last week. How the Haitians are becoming the new indentured servants. So now that we're so hypersensitive about, well, at least the overall markers in the country are hypersensitive about police brutality and defund the police. Now they got a brand new crop of people that they could just put into the PIC. Am I in left field on that one? Which I think.
They gotta break up the cheap labor force somehow. And with the way that they're going and creating laws against being homeless and it being a crime, I mean, hell, they're fast tracking it at a faster rate than you would usually have thought to begin with. There's a lot of states that are now criminalizing and being homeless. And are making it illegal. You can go to jail for being homeless. Make it make sense.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Let us know at home. What do you think about this? How do you feel? What do you feel? But more or less, what you think about the eventualities? And we already know that the immigrant population that's being brought in here is going to be the new labor class that undergirds America. But now, do they ease that same population, especially the men, into the prison industrial complex and keep that going? Because those senators got to get their big paydays off of the laws that they create and then invest in. What's the chick name who got the dude broke in on January 6th and put his feet on the desk and all that?
Yeah, I saw that.
What's the woman name who's the head of Congress, or she was?
Oh, Nancy Pelosi.
Pelosi. There you go. Thank you. Pelosi. Yeah. So now that they become the new prison industrial complex population and serve the American population that way. And how do we feel about that? Does that at all move our old rubric of what we did in the country and what the plan for us was here? I know I'm getting into a lot. We're going to get into it more on Wednesday. We way in overtime. I appreciate you guys jumping on. I appreciate you guys rocking with us. We ought to hire discussion. We're having one right now. We want to continue it. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe, turn all your notifications on so that the next time we have the Real HD show, you get notified and you can join us and we can have a higher discussion. And make sure you timestamp whatever, news feature that you resonated with and leave a comment. Mozzie loves those comments. Hit him over the head with everything you got. He'll come with his Swami hat on next time we have a show, and he'll know it all and say it all. He'll make it all make sense. I'm bugging. I'm wilding out with you. But I thank you guys for watching the Real HD show. Please tune in Wednesday. We got more. I didn't even get into a third of what I had actually planned for the show. Videos, articles, discussions, expose. Tell a friend to watch the Real HD show again. So as we sign off, Brother Mozzie, Godspeed, Jazzy, peace, walk with power, and love on each other. All right, y'all. We're out.